Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we'll be doing a comparison between the new Kia Sorento and the Telluride to see what the differences are. And I feel like this is a really good comparison because both of these vehicles have the same MSRP, and so if you're going to spend, well, the money that these cost, which one should you go for? Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Doug Smith Kia here in American Fork, Utah for giving me some time with both of these vehicles. Both of these are available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, link to their inventory in the description down below. And then as always, if you're going to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below as well. Let's get into it. So powering the Sorento is a turbocharged 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed dual clutch automatic. Fuel economy is 20 around town and then 27 on the highway, with power outputs being 281 horsepower and then 311 pound-feet of torque. Now, powering the Telluride is a naturally aspirated 3.8 liter V6 that goes through a regular torque converter 8-speed automatic. Fuel economy is 18 around town and then 24 on the highway, with power outputs being 291 horsepower and then 262 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Now, taking a look at the front end design of both of the vehicles, they're both extremely boxy now, which is hilarious. Now, the new Sorento takes a lot of design cues from the Kia EV9. I mean, look at the headlights, for example, which a lot of people call the EV9 the electric Telluride, and so that's where, you know, the design is very similar. I mean, notice both the grills blacked out with them. Now, the Kia logos are actually in different places, which is interesting, but yeah, I mean, the design language on them is not the same, but it's just very similar overall. Now, around the side here with the Sorento, our tire wheel setup is 255, 45, 20 in the front and over in the rear. And you can see with the wheels, really cool design. Again, all blacked out, very chunky, just interesting look overall. And then you can see some blacked out trim here on the side. And then here's your full side profile with the Sorento. And then take a look at the tire and wheel setup of the Telluride. It's 245, 50, 20 in the front and over in the rear. You can see again with the wheels completely blacked out. And then same thing with the trim here on the side. And then here's your full side view with the Telluride. I think the Telluride kind of has a little bit more of a boxy Range Rover look compared to the Sorento. The Sorento is still a little bit more rounded off, at least with the back end. Now, taking a look at the key fobs, you can see functionality on them is identical. They both have remote start as well on the back side of them. Kind of hard to deal with both these key fobs. But yeah, it's Kia's new fob that has the cool illumination thing with the unlock, which is kind of fun. Now, in the rear of the Telluride here, you can see there's a decent amount of storage space behind the third row. And then if you actually fold down the third row, you get even more storage space. So really solid on the space side of things. And then also the second row, you do have that to fold it down as well. And then when you're all done, just press this and that will lower the hatch right back down. And popping over to the Sorento, it is a little bit smaller, but it's not as much smaller as I would expect, but it definitely is smaller. Again, same thing when you fold down the third row, you get more space. And then you guys can see the little USB port there in the back, but we don't have any like fold down. Oh no, it is over here, I forgot. We do have a fold down function for the second row. It's just right here on the other side. Now, capping things off with the rest of the rear, you can see with the Telluride, you've got the lights that kind of pop down there, and then notice it has Telluride there in the center with the badging, whereas over here with the Sorento, you can see the taillights are more similar to the previous gen Sorento. They have been updated a little bit, but notice the Sorento badge is off to the side, and then you have the little exhaust tip that pops out. It's kind of hidden, whereas the Telluride it's more prominent. And again, hopefully you guys can kind of see, they both have like rounded off elements in the back, but the Telluride has kind of more of that Range Rover type design in the rear. Now, in the second row of the Telluride, quite spacious. We've got a little storage pocket here, got some cup holders, 12 volt down below, and then you can see soft touch trim here. We also have sunshade, got the wood trim down below, and then on the armrest as well. This one has captain chairs, and then headroom back here. It's pretty good. And then we do have our own climate zone. And then in the third row, I mean, I would reserve this for kids, but I can fit back here pretty comfortably as an adult. And these seats are pretty comfortable. And speaking of seats, I've got to show the second row seats. Look at the design on this. It's pretty cool how they've kind of laid that out. But let's pop over to the Sorento and see how the space compares. Okay, so in the second row here, feels a tiny bit smaller, but it's not uncomfortable. And then you can see with the vents here, charging ports, and then very similar theme on the door panel here, even with the sunshade. But you guys can see here with the trim, really nice looking. Headroom, it's a little bit less. And then Look at these seats. Really cool design, just like the Telluride. And then the third row definitely has less space compared to the Telluride. I'm a little bit more cramped back here. Same thing with the headroom. I like touched the top whereas I didn't in the Telluride. So definitely more reserved for kids. Still have USB back here though, so that's nice. And the seat is at least comfortable back here. And hop into the front of the Telluride here. Very similar steering wheel design is what you have in like the Land Rover Defender, which I think is fine, it looks cool. Be a nice finish on all of the controls. You got stuff like adaptive cruise control. You can see the big digital gauge cluster in the center, which will change a little bit with the different drive modes. I can see red there in the sport mode, for example. And then again, soft touch here. You can see the nice trim. All of your window controls here. You even have a tow mode with this. You can see hill descent control as well. Blind spot running with the mirrors. And by the way, these front seats, really nice looking with all of the trim. And then in reverse, it's got a regular backup camera. And then as for the infotainment system, response time's quick, it's easy to use. Bunch of physical buttons down below, and kind of like notice more of a traditional setup here. Tri-zone climate, you got heated and cooled seats, got some USBs here, wireless phone charging pad, got a shifter with these cool grab handles, your drive mode select with your center locking differential, and then again, one more nice finishes on the controls here for like the auto hold. Pretty big center console. Nice trim on the top. And then yeah, you can see the design here on the dash again. Pretty fancy looking. Good storage. And then we've got a traditional sunroof here in the Telluride. And the stop-start button's flatter. Interesting. Ooh. So completely different steering wheel design. You can see just a 3-spoke design. The finish on some of the controls, I mean, it's nice, but not as nice as what you have on the Telluride. The Telluride felt a little bit more upscale. Nice paddle shifters though. And then you can see again full digital gauge cluster. Same thing kind of with some of the drive modes like sport mode. Actually, this one doesn't change. I thought it did, but I forgot that it didn't change. It's fine. Anyways, you got soft touch here at the door panel. And then again, I really like this design. I think this looks really cool. Overall, you can see the memory seat function here. Opening for the hatch, stability control. Blind spot running with the mirrors. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system. So first off, this one has a 360 camera system. The same price point. So that's a nice feature. And then, yeah, the infotainment system looks a little bit more modern, but functionality is very similar on both of them, so they're both easy to use. And see, nice trim on the dash. Very similar upright design. Now this one has the multi-function controls, so a little bit more new school. And then you can see with the heated and cooled seat control, and then all the little charging ports and everything. Got a shifter here, traditional kind of shifter look. Drive mode select, and then you can see all the physical, again, not as nice of a finish on them, but you got all the physical buttons here. Center console, I mean, it's still pretty big. Nice padding there. And then glove box, also pretty big. Now this one has a premium headliner, which is nice. And then we also have a camera rear view mirror, which is another nice feature. And then we've got a panoramic sunroof, so a little bit more. So both of these cars sticker for about $48,000. So like I said, they're pretty much the same price. That one's just a hair under $48,000, and that one's just a hair over $48,000. So with that being said, let's see how they drive and sum things up. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood. Both mirrors do a blind spot. The rest of the rear. And, well, let us set off in the X-Line out. Well, we are now officially setting off in the Sorento after the world's longest light. But good torque out of the 2.5. You do feel the dual clutch though. I will mention that. And that turn signal camera is a cool feature, by the way. But yeah, you can, at low speeds, you can kind of feel it, grabbing the gear a little bit and all of that, just what dual clutches do. Manufacturers can tune the transmission and everything to kind of hide it as best as they can, but, ultimately, dual clutch is a dual clutch at the end of the day. And also, I'm so unlucky, 2 lights in a row. At least this one's not nearly as long. But seats are comfortable here in the Sorento as well. And yeah, this new Sorento has a very similar feel to the Telluride inside. Now they've kind of just, taken a lot of design cues from the Telluride and put it in the Sorento. Yeah, look at that torque. That's wonderful. It's quite impressive. Ride quality's good too. Yeah, it just has so much torque. It's pretty dang quick. It's pretty dang quick. Yeah, and at highway speeds, it's not bad. You know, again, boxier designs, you think it might be rough riding or this or that, but it's not bad. It's a pretty comfortable drive overall. And visibility with this is good too, all around. So, to sum things up here with this Sorento, I think this looks really cool on the outside for the new Sorento. This X-Line package, I mean, this is probably what most people are going to go for, I imagine, is X-Line. Maybe not the Prestige, but they also make the EX X-Line, a little bit less money. But yeah, just you get the cooler looks, and you know, the X Pro, that's a package I really like, but I think a lot of people kind of don't really go for that because they don't necessarily care for the off-roading. I mean, one of the most common comments I get with X Pro reviews is, oh, how loud are the tires? You know, what's the fuel economy like? And it's, you know, people are genuinely worried about that with an SUV like this. So yeah, I think this is probably, again, maybe not this Prestige, it's really nice, but I think probably just the regular, the EX, so the X-Line with the EX package, probably the sweet spot for the new Sorento. I mean, it's a mid $40,000 price tag for a 3-row SUV. I mean, that's pretty solid value. But let me know what you guys think about the packaging thing. Let me know what you guys think about this new Sorento, and I guess we'll get one last acceleration here as we're entering onto the interstate again. Woo! Turbo power. Let's talk about visibility before we set off on the Telluride. There's over the hood, both the mirrors, the rest of the rear, and, well, Telluride away. Oh, setting off in the Telluride, and I can tell you right off the bat, I can tell you right now, see what I did there. Anyways, it does feel like a bigger vehicle. Instantly, feels like a bigger vehicle. And not just like the interior space feels a little bit more open, and the biggest thing is I think is the headroom, because this has a boxier design, so you've got more space above you. But yeah, it just feels larger. It feels like you're driving a more substantial vehicle compared to the Sorento. That being said, in terms of comfort, over bumps they're pretty similar. The ride quality on this, it might be a little bit better, but it's not a huge difference. Now the engine performs way different, so you don't have the same level of torque. You do feel that. And acceleration's not bad. Does not have that same turbo punch, but what I will say is it's smoother. Because it's a traditional torque converter automatic, the gear shifts, they're smoother, and you don't get that weird lurchiness at low speeds. Because again, torque converter automatic versus dual clutch. And at highway speeds, pretty similar wind noise. It's not any quieter, not any louder. Pretty similar. It's a comfortable drive. And looking at the interior, I mean, I feel like this looks just as, and again, even though this is technically a package down, because this is an EX versus a Prestige, still has a premium feel to it. It's nice. Yeah, it drives well. So Telluride versus Sorento, which one's best? Well, it depends on what you're looking for, right? As a cop-out. So here's what I mean. The Telluride has more space. And so if you need more space, then the Telluride is objectively the better one to go for. When it comes to driving experience, they both drive well. The new Sorento definitely with that turbo engine feels punchier. This isn't bad. This just doesn't have that same punch, but then smoother transmission. And again, just more spacious feel with this overall. And you know, so the finish on the controls on this is a little bit nicer. So even though that has a higher end package, this overall feels like a slightly more premium vehicle because of the finish on a lot of the controls. And they're so close in price. I think if you do an EX on both of them, you're like 44 for that and you're 48 for this, or 45 I think for that, and 48. So it's like a $3,000 price difference. That's not nothing. That's not nothing. That's a good chunk of change. but they're close enough in price that I think that the determining factor probably shouldn't be budget, and it should more be what you're looking for out of the vehicle. So, stupid tripod. Anyways, yeah, it just doesn't have the same punch. It's not bad, it just doesn't have the same punch. But let me know which one you'd pick, Telluride or Sorento.